So I'm back in the park going for another walk, and I was watching Asmoth Gold. I think is how you say his name. It's one of those streamers that's kind of big on YouTube. But he was doing like an analysis or watching like a video with the stream, and he was talking about the video. What it was doing was talking about unemployment, the rise of unemployment a little bit, and how this generation doesn't want to work and stuff like that. And there was another video I was watching about how AI is changing the way things are going, and it's replacing people and it's replacing things. And there's even the video of like one of the episodes on whatever show it is about how the guy replaces his wife with AI, or at least she replaced herself because she brought the AI, and he wants to be with the AI instead of being with her. And it's crazy to see how a lot of that stuff changed. And I remember about a little bit over a year, I made the video about how Midjourney is changing the way image generation is made, basically like how artists and how other creators are creating stuff based on AI, because AI can do a lot, and how you can use AI to direct your creations and make better art and faster art instead of spending days and days and days doing stuff. You can use Midjourney to generate artwork or relatively quickly. Especially seeing that I use Midjourney to generate book covers, and it takes a couple minutes to generate a book cover, and then it'll take maybe a half an hour to work on details, give it your prompts, see what you like, what you don't like, and choose things from there until you get something you really like. And another cool thing is like you can actually just use pictures to guide your prompt. So you can use a picture for an item, and then you can go from there and get a description of that item based on the picture, and then you can edit the description to create a whole new image, which makes it a lot faster. But anyway, moving on from that and thinking about how the world is changing based on the uprise of AI and how things are changing across the workforce itself based on not just AI but people, how much people want to work and how work is going, and the recession and all that, it's taken a big turn, ironically enough, and something I kind of didn't want to happen, but it took a turn in the direction that was similar to what I was talking about, how things are going to change, just like back in the Industrial Revolution when that happened and you went from using animals to do most of the work, you went from using that to using machines, how life changed and people had to develop new skills, and they had to do it rapidly or get left behind. And there was a point where like there's a lot of people not working, where they had to redo their skills and all that stuff, because you have to keep up with times, you have to continue to improve yourself in order to stay relevant, in order to just keep a job basically. So that brings back to the point of work is changing. The nature of work itself is changing. It's moving in a different direction as technology advances and things change quite a bit. The nature of work itself is changing a lot. And with it, you get you get what happens usually when things change a lot. You get people that don't want to change, and you get people that don't want to do things the way new things are being done. And you also get the people that look at the way things are being done before, the way things are being done in a new way, and they don't want either of them, which is what is basically happening with a lot of the workforce, where people are looking at the old way of the 9 to 5 and working all day and stuff like that, and they say they don't want that, but then they look at the new way of working where you're basically not working a 9 to 5, you're not working a stable schedule, but you're doing the same amount of work hours, it's just spread out and more sporadic throughout the day, and they don't want to do that either. And then it goes down to, I don't want to work. And then also it comes up to the point where as the nature of work changes, the nature of how you're rewarded for that work is also changing. So there are many companies that don't want to pay their employees, but they should be paying them. And then there are workers and management and stuff like that is trying to pay their employees less, but they're also degrading their employees because they think because the nature of work is changing, and they don't actually understand some of the work. They think the work that's being done is not really good, or it's not useful, or it can be replaced at any moment. And it's this attitude that's actually adding to the rise of the cost of a lot of things, such as services especially, where a lot of people think any service can be done by anyone and it's so easy to do, and they don't realize what it actually takes to do a service until they can't get it done anymore. Then it becomes an issue. Then they learn their lesson, but by then it's too late. But that's just how that usually works. But the fact is, the matter is now we are on the tipping point, which again is in March for some reason. AI in March seems to have good luck, as Midjourney has decided they're going to release their new version. Finally, after waiting forever, like Grand Theft Auto, they've been saying, oh, it's going to be next week, it's going to be next week. We're working on it for next week for the past who knows how long. But now finally they've already said, oh, yeah, well, we already started releasing it to our moderators and our testers so that it can be implemented slowly over the month of March. Then we have a lot of news coming out with ChatGPT upgrading their system so they can have a new version released very soon. Google is trying to work on its new version of its AI, which I don't put that much slack into Google's AI because it seems to be challenged because it messes up on basic math, so it's challenged to say the least. And then you have stuff like DeepSeek, which is making waves also, and it's just a lot of things that are changing in a very short amount of time. Then we even have stuff like Kokora, and there's Zora also, but Kokora is the one that runs on basically a basic computer which does voice generation that's natural sounding. It's not voice clone, it just generates voices, and it can generate an AI voice and do text to speech, and it does it very well and very easily. It's a little bit hard to set up, but it works very well, and it works on almost anything, which is gonna push it faster and more mainstream than a lot of the other AI voices that we have currently, such as 11 Labs. And now with two AI systems coming out and being more popular as this year goes on, that don't require any kind of specialized hardware, and it's not dependent on graphics card like most AI software has been over the past few years. Now you can use on a relatively new computer, or like in the case of DeepSeek, you can use on an old computer. It's going to change the landscape of AI, and generative AI especially is going to pretty much hit a new boom like it did originally a couple of years ago, where all of a sudden generative AI was the huge and biggest thing ever. Now with that in mind, we're going to come over and we're going to look at the fact that workforce participation and work in general has been decreasing steadily over the past few years. It's going to be a very unusual future and a very unusual path that we're walking into, where a lot of people are trying to check out of work. People aren't satisfied working because they don't feel they're being rewarded enough for their work. They feel like they're being taken advantage of. And then we have the skill set of lacking skill sets also. That's another gigantic thing that a lot of people seem to be missing, is a lot of AI and a lot of all these things are coming together right now, but we seem to be lacking one crucial thing, as skill sets for other things that aren't really technologically based. Things such as plumbers, electricians, carpenters, mechanics. Those fields are slowly dwindling down. People are not exactly going into those fields like they should be, even though those fields are quite lucrative and those fields are extremely necessary. They're not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon. And even on the stream with Ash Gold's stream, or his video, he talked about how he thinks it's going to be about 500 years before they replace plumbers with an AI, to get an AI to do all the plumbing, and they would have to standardize all plumbing equipment first. And the fact is, he may be right a little, but his timeline is very off. And I don't blame him because he doesn't know that much about plumbing, but as someone who does do plumbing too, it is very much changing rapidly already. Plumbing has already begun to be standardized, and you require less and less actual skill and more knowledge to do plumbing now. For instance, a lot of piping inside of homes used to be copper, and you would have to be able to weld in order to put together those copper piping. That is no longer necessary. In fact, a lot of new construction homes do not want you to be welding on their homes. They don't want copper pipes that are welded together. A lot of them use copper pipes, yes, but they use copper pipes with crimp fittings, which requires a machine that clamps the fitting together. Well, pretty much does a seal on your fitting for 2 pipes in about 30 seconds. No heating, nothing required. It can do this while it's wet. Even if your water's not completely off and the water's still running, you can push the pipes together, put the clamp on, push the button, clamp is done, seal is fixed. Stuff like that is changing the way plumbing's done. A lot of other plumbing work is not done with PVC pipe, which has to be glued together. Like before, it's using Plex pipe, which is flexible and you can run it any way you want. And you use the same crimping tools to put together Plex pipe, so you can attach the pipes together with other pipes without actually using any kind of glue, which makes it a little bit more environmentally friendly and a little bit safer for you to drink out of. Not that much, but a little bit. Then when it comes to electrical systems, they're becoming a little bit more complicated as they're having more and more systems run together. But a lot of new electrical things like laptops and dishwashers, washing machines, even water heaters for your house, they use a lot less power, which means they don't require as many high voltage systems in your house. And we have systems that regulate your power in your house, which switches things on and off for you automatically. And we have systems that connect to Wi-Fi that monitor how much electricity your house is using and can power down certain things that you may not use. Especially when it comes to like having a Tesla charger plugged into your house. You can't run your Tesla charger and every other thing at the same time. You will blow a fuse or you can cause a fire because it's a lot of power. So they put systems on to shut other parts of your house down, such as your pool pumps and other things that can turn on accidentally or could turn on that don't actually need to be running. And I mentioned those things because though they require less and less actual training and skill as they did like 5 or 10 years ago, and they require a lot more knowledge and a lot more studying and seeing what goes where and making sure you don't mix things incorrectly, because now it's more of let's make sure all these things are connected properly the way they're supposed to be and based on numbers and not just based on skill. There's kind of going to be another disparity where a lot of people are not going into those fields. A lot of the older people don't want to change the way they're working in those fields. And a lot of older people are also getting out of those fields because they're starting to retire, because those fields do take quite a toll on your body after a while. And you end up having to retire a little bit earlier, but you also make a little bit more money so you can retire a little bit earlier. And because of this, we are now in the middle of a little circle of unusual territory where people are leaving the workforce because they're retiring. People are leaving the workforce because they don't want to be in the field anymore. People are leaving the workforce because they don't have the skills for that field anymore. And people are leaving the workforce because AI is pushing them out of the workforce. But all these people are leaving, and then we have the other side where very few people are coming into the workforce with the skills required to do a lot of the work that's becoming necessary. Not a lot of people are coming into the workforce ready to build a house, to do plumbing, to do carpentry, to fix your cars, to even build the cars. Not a lot of people are coming into the workforce doing all those things, but a lot of people are leaving the workforce doing those things over the next couple of years. And we're about to hit a point where things have to change or it's going to be really bad. A recession is not going to be the biggest thing we're going to have to worry about. The biggest thing we're going to have to worry about soon is whether or not the stuff in our house is going to be working, and how can we keep it working? Can we even keep our lights on? Not because we don't have money to pay the light bill, but because people at the power company aren't working and the power company may shut down. Because even as fast as AI is developing and as fast as it's moving, AI cannot do certain things right now, and it's not going to be able to do certain things for a while, because an AI is a machine working in a high voltage system or high voltage environment, especially, or an environment that's lots of water and things that can change suddenly, can have leaks and accidents and all that kinds of stuff that can happen suddenly. they're not going to be able to compensate with that, and it's going to be very easy for a system to get broken when it gets sprayed with water or it gets sprayed with liquid freon. That's going to freeze whatever it touches. Not enough to break it, but not enough to kill a person, but enough to break an AI system and enough to break a circuit board. So things are changing, and it seems as though not a lot of people have a solution to this. Not a lot of people have a way to go forward, even with everything changing as fast as it is. Well, you might think it's very scary and it's very bleak looking future. But I mean, there is hope. I mean, you can do certain things. You can work on yourself. You can work on figuring out how to do basic things like changing your oil, making sure you don't overload things in your house, maybe even changing a socket or a light bulb, not a light bulb, or like a fan or a light switch or something like that. You can learn how to do stuff like that, basic things, and you can learn more things. You can make sure your kids get taught that not everything's about AI, because AI is one thing, but at the same time, the more people that go into those fields where it's surrounded by AI and it's focused on AI, the less likely you are to be successful at that field. Not because there's more people, not because it's harder, it's because eventually AI is going to push you right out of that field. The amount of people needed to run AI is slowly diminishing, and it's getting smaller and smaller. Even with the new update for Midjourney, you no longer have to need to know how to write prompts to get correct images. You just have to give it a sentence, and it's more understanding of what you want. And not only that, but you can use images to focus what you want, to show it something, and you can get descriptions of that image, and you can change the description a little bit to get something you actually want. So being AI focused in your field that you're studying is not really going to be the best, but at the same time maintaining a good outlook and trying to find something to do that's not really going to be outsourced pretty quickly is a good path to start on, for one. And for two, finding some place to work, finding something to do besides just working at a company is going to actually be something I think the future is going to be like, much like it was before, where people weren't just going to 9-to-5 jobs. Like, you look back before all the 9-to-5 work started, people used to actually pretty much live their life to be a certain things. Like carpenters, that's what they did with their whole life. They did a lot of carpentry, whether they did it at a place, a factory, or someplace else. They did it at home. They took it to people. They did things people wanted to in exchange for the money they needed. It wasn't just go to work 9-to-5 every single day, or every 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, and work overtime and all this. The way we actually make money is going to have to start changing, and it's going to have to change really fast in order for things to actually keep up. But that's just what I think so far. Maybe things will be a little bit different in a couple months, but who knows? We have to wait and see, especially with the way the world is changing right now. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll be back soon. So subscribe if you want to keep up with what I'm doing. I'll see you guys later.